Hey everyone, we're going to talk about something that's a little bit more in depth today, and it's trauma. What is trauma? Well, it's anything that is going to cause significant stress to you, to your mind, to your heart, to your soul, and this stress is going to cause you to have you to maybe relive events, and this is what PTSD is, post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, not everybody who has trauma ends up with PTSD, but quite a few do. And that's why it's so important that as soon as there is a traumatic event, that you process it and you just go through it in your mind, but also you go through it with someone else about what has happened and what has occurred. A lot of us have been through childhood trauma, and it could be something as great on the scale as childhood abuse from a parent. It could be sexual abuse from someone else, from like a sibling or babysitter, neighbor, something along those lines. Childhood trauma could also stem from bullying and could cause significant harm during the developmental stages. To everybody, trauma is different, and it depends on where you are in that developmental stage and where you are emotionally, and how the event impacted you. Last night, there was an event at the gym that I own, and it was pretty traumatic. We've been through trainings where we're dealing with the idea of active shooters coming in and whatnot, but what we experienced last night was something that I've never experienced in 30 years. And it was basically a domestic dispute, and it was the mom. The mom was irate. And my daughter jumps in and jumps into action. She is a coach at this point. It's 7:30 at night, 15 years old. And when I say jumps into action, she immediately goes to the action plan and comes right to me, finds me and says pineapple. And that is our code word that says it's yellow. So that means caution, something might be coming up. And so I go out and I sort of figure out what's going on, and then I ask this woman to leave, and she is just refusing to leave. And I've been trained to corral people without touching them, sort of guide people and say, okay, this is how you're going to, I need you to leave, I need you to move, I need you to do this, but you never touch anybody. And in my head, I'm going, this is escalating very quickly. Does this woman have weapons on her? No, she doesn't have a bag on her. I don't know if she's carrying anything behind her, but my goal is to get her out of the gym to protect the children. So I am standing between her and all of the children and blocking her from getting anywhere near the floor. And I'm being called all these names. I've been called them before. And then she laid her hands on me. And she grabbed my shoulder and went to push me. And I was very calm. Asked her, I said, please do not touch me, ma'am. But it was just interesting because the whole time, that fight or flight, and my adrenaline is up, And let me tell you, my stress levels have been way up as of late. Like, way up. But I could just feel this calm over me. Saying, you have a job. You've got to, whatever. Do what you've got to do. So I do it. The rest of my staff was absolutely amazing. They all did everything they were supposed to do. They removed the children from the situation. They moved them to another part of the gym. Like, everything just worked out the way it was supposed to. The woman ended up calling 911, which was funny because she didn't even know where we were at. So I ended up giving them the address and telling them what really happened. She was saying that I was refusing to give her child, but the child was refusing to go with her because she was so irate. So moving forward about trauma. Afterwards, I was sitting at the computer processing everything. This is 8:30 at night. Everybody's getting ready to leave. And my daughter comes in and gives me a hug, and I just tell her how proud I am of her, because as a 15-year-old, she handled this situation so well. And she did everything she was supposed to do. And then we both just started crying. And it was bizarre for me because I'm sitting here going, you were fine. You held your cool. You didn't cry at all during this whole time. And now you're just, whoosh. And that's where you realize that was pretty traumatic. So my daughter and I processed it. Then in come other coaches. And I didn't realize how traumatic it was for them. It was traumatic for them because they were now responsible for 40 girls. And while it was my responsibility to protect or to keep this woman off the floor, it's their responsibility to protect those girls. And their instincts pop in. So now their adrenaline is going. And it was hard on them. So you can see no one got hurt. But just the idea of this woman coming into our safe space, going into an area, being vulgar, and calling another woman names. Again, it was domestic dispute. And doing it in front of children, and then not leaving when requested, made everybody sit there and go, how far is this going to go? But what was even more concerning was she did this in front of children. And now there are 40 children that went home last night and had to process what happened. And you think about the types of trauma we go through, and a lot of us don't take it seriously. We just assume this is normal behavior. And I'm here to tell you, that is not normal behavior. Yes, I use the N-word. It is not normal. We should not have to live through that kind of trauma. We should not have to deal with that kind of trauma. But it's inevitable. So what do we do about it? How do we deal with it? And I'm here to tell you that, again, it's all about talking about it. And I'm going to be grabbing my staff and processing with them. I'm checking in with them today. I'm writing to the families of all of these kids that dealt with it. I spoke with the little girl yesterday before her mom ripped her away and she had to have a police escort out of the gym. I said, who can you talk to tomorrow when you're at school? Reminding her she can go to her school counselor and hopefully be able to deal with this. But never feel like you're alone. Because you are not the only one that is dealing with trauma. You are not the only one that goes through significant things. Because again, it's nothing bad happened. Yes, I was, for the most part, physically assaulted yesterday, but none of my coaches were, and yet they were upset. And my daughter was upset for me. I know a gymnast was upset for me because she saw me get touched. But what else did everybody see? And that's what you have to remember, is that just by talking, you get more out. And you hear more of the story and you figure things out. And that's what's so important, is we've got to share and realize we are not alone. We don't have to deal with traumatic experiences alone. Because, quite honestly, trauma bonding is real. And always remember that the more you hold on to it, the more you hold on to the things that happened in your past, that trauma, it's like you are Jacob Marley and you are dragging your chains. And sometimes we just have to let go of some of those chains.